Welcome to the Sensitive Mind Show.
Your purpose in life as a sensitive is to experience the deeper parts of the mind, to move beyond fear and to manage your energy, no matter the circumstance. I'm going to show you, as a sensitive, how you can maximize your talents and feel comfortable in your own skin. For show notes and to join the conversation, visit heidisawyer.com/mind. There are people born in this world with a sensitized nervous system. Some of them are naturally more intuitive than others, and they feel the emotions of others vividly but silently. These are their dilemmas. So I have 3 dilemmas for you today. All of the questions are about love and partner relationships. So the first person we have is Rachel, who is unsure of the intentions of the man who says he loves her. And we have Claire, who feels changed within herself and is unsure if her current partner is still a match. And we also have Gwen, who has finally met the man of her dreams, but he's only just separated from his wife. So let's get into the first dilemma for today. So Rachel is unsure of the intentions of the man who says he loves her. So we have Rachel, who is a life code 7. Okay. And we have the ex-fiance, who is a life code 4. And we have his ex-wife, who is a life code 3. So ex-fiance, we'll discover as to why he is the ex-fiance in a moment. So let's have a look and see what Rachel has told us. So I have been dating this man back and forth for over 3 years. We got engaged in 2015. We were supposed to be married 14th February 2017, but after I caught him cheating and reported it to the church, he went and married someone else out of spite, then came back saying he still loves me. So what's the problem this situation creates? He keeps coming back saying he loves me, that he's very unhappy and wants to be with me, but then accuses me of being the reason why we're not together and goes back to his ex-wife, which has me very confused and frustrated. So the question that Rachel wants me to answer is, are we going to get back together and stay together forever? Okay, so Rachel wants to know if she can trust this man and if there really is a future with him. Okay, so now we have a life code 7, life code 4 and a life code 3 as these kind of dynamics. Okay, so what do we have in relation to a life code 7, an aware life code 7 and unaware life code 4 in terms of a love relationship? Well, the life code 7 is very much going to be about the emotions, about that sense of connection. So even if a relationship isn't right, they will feel a strong pull to stay within it if it feels emotionally right is probably the wrong word, but emotionally charging, as in sort of a passionate feel about it. So where someone feels as a life code 7 that they can get passionate about something, they will often stay longer than another life code would do, regardless of their awareness. So even as an unaware life code 7, Rachel is going to be driven by her emotions. So how does this relate to the ex-fiance relationship kind of thing that she's in at the moment as that life code 4? Well, I suspect in this kind of dynamic, what this person likes is to feel adored. Okay, so Rachel gives him the attention, and therefore as that life code 4, and he feels adored as that unaware life code 4. Part of this triangle that he's creating will be, as that life code 4, as an unaware life code 4 around love, will be his inclination will be towards the person that shows him the most love. Because as a life code 4, love is their theme throughout their lifetime. So this is why I suspect it bounces between Rachel and the ex-wife, who's a life code 3. Now, life code 3s are very patient. I suspect in this love relationship, he likes to be adored. He's still around the ex-wife as that life code 3 because life code 3s are very loyal. There's a strong loyalty factor within that, and I suspect that the ex-wife feels that if she shows him love, then she can have him back. But then when he goes back into that and it all relaxes into the normal scenario, he then goes into the whole, but I want to feel adored, which is why he then goes back to Rachel. I strongly suspect that that's the dynamic in terms of these 3 life codes. So let's have a little look to see how that matches. Okay, so what can we learn from this? What can we learn? Well, quite often, if something's not working out in our life, we kind of assume that somehow or another, it's especially around relationships, we assume, especially sensitives, that somehow it's our fault, that we have to do something better, that we have to be more adoring, more patient, more keep a mouth shut when someone does something that upsets us. All of those things, assuming that somehow or another, excuse me, it must be our fault. We must be the reason for it not going right. Rather than even think about the idea that it actually could be the other person's needs and desires, as in how they operate in life in general, as to the reason why something isn't altogether working out. Okay, so let's have a look through the archetypes and see whether I'm right. Let's see what we've got. Okay, so first of all, I think we'll look at the ex-fiancé as that life code 4 and see what he's up to. Okay, let's see whether I'm right on this one. So I'm thinking about him, and let's have a little look. Okay, so what we have is the rebel. Okay, so that gives us an inclination right away that I would say I'm right in terms of that this guy likes the adoration. He likes the adoration of 2 women in different forms, even if they're shouting at him or they're not altogether happy with him. It still makes him feel wanted, this adoration kind of thing. And this rebel energy would highlight that. Okay, so he doesn't want anything that's conventional. Okay, so as far as a relationship is concerned, you find that he likes this feeling that this is unconventional, that he's got these 2 women kind of warring over him, metaphorically, even though they don't know each other. So let's see what the ex-wife is up to. Why is she still kind of involved with this man? Let's have a look. So I'm thinking about her rather, and let's see what we get as far as she's concerned. See if I'm right as far as that's concerned. Okay. Which I am kind of right. So what we have here, as far as she's concerned, is the beggar. Okay. So how she sees it is, it's literally that in terms of that archetype, beggars can't be choosers. I would say her self-esteem has been mangled through this relationship and this man's lack of ability over the years to feel that he will commit properly to a situation. So her self-esteem is low, and therefore this will be the reason as to why, with that beggar energy, as to the reason why she accepts him back. So each time he's allowed back into that picture. Okay, so Rachel, who is asking the question, okay, so she's asking the question, so she's the one who's in this relationship with him at the moment. So let's see what's going on as far as she's concerned. Now we're looking from an unconscious perspective. So as an example, this ex-wife, with this beggar energy going on underneath, she may not show that outwardly. She might show that she's angry, or she's cross, or that she sort of pulls at the strings, so to speak, just to kind of get her point across. But actually the undertone of that is that she feels that her worthiness, sense of self-worth, is low, hence the reason that she doesn't move on. Okay? This guy, as in the centre of this love triangle, he's not a commitment kind of fellow. He doesn't want to commit. He's got this rebel here. He doesn't want anything that's conventional, and so he'll say all the right things to make something conventional, and each time he'll then disrupt it, looking at this picture. So let's see what Rachel really wants. Okay, so we'll look at her energy in terms of the unconscious and see, okay, what does she really want? Does she really want someone who's committed and steady, or does she really actually quite like the constant dynamic and the constant kind of feeling of exuberant passion, or always wondering where this guy is, if he's going to come back, what he's going to do, all of those kind of things that are around this type of relationship. Okay, so let's have a look what the real Rachel wants. Okay, so I'm thinking about that, so let's have a look at what the real Rachel wants from a relationship. Okay, let's have a look. Interesting, we've got the rescuer. Okay, that's interesting. So, what does that mean in terms of that dynamic? It's a little bit of a surprise, okay, and in terms of what I would be looking at, a little bit of a surprise. The rescuer is very common to a sensitive person. You want to rescue, solve, and make things okay. So what Rachel's undertone, so in terms of her unconscious undertone, is she wants to rescue this man from his own stupidity, basically, or his own kind of rebellion. She wants to save him. She wants to save him, save part of his, of who he is, from his own destruction. Okay, so this is what her unconscious can see as far as this relationship is concerned. That'd be why she wants him. Now, the issue is that when we see this rescuer, and especially in terms of this life code 7, which is, very much the rescuer energy in terms of a triangle situation, 7s are perfect as being the rescuer, the person who solves, makes it all okay, and all of that kind of stuff. And the issue is, when you're a rescuer, you are the one that gets the blame. Because when someone wants to be the persecutor, or someone wants to be the victim, okay, that's the victim. Every time you rescue them, they switch into the persecutor, so the one who then attacks you. Hence the reason why Rachel's got this situation where he then says that he accuses her of being the reason why they're not together, and goes back to his ex-wife. So she's in this pattern of this rescuer. So why, as a sensitive, would she get so caught up in this rescuer, and that it's a difficult cycle to break? Well, partly it will be because part of her psyche will expect a man, and this will be a deeper thing going on, will expect a man to not be there for her. Will expect a man to not be there for her, maybe sometimes physically, but certainly emotionally. And that will go back further in her life, probably quite a long way back, and where she then needs to think, who was the first man in her life that she felt emotionally let her down? And that will be the first person that she associates love with. So she will be assuming that anything to do with love and worth keeping is going to be a relationship where she has to save them from themselves. So Is this a long-term scenario? So her question is, are we going to get back together and stay together forever? Well, this is a typical codependent pattern running. So I suspect that Rachel will, while she's still got that active rescuer, try desperately to have him back, will be so upset, really upset, desperately upset inside if he's then gone again, and will wait for the day when he returns and all of this kind of thing. And that cycle could go on for a very long time, because the ex-wife is not going to release him anytime soon, because her energy is someone whose self-worth is in tatters. Is he going to change? Absolutely not. I can tell you that now, because if it wasn't the ex-wife, it would be someone else that he's playing this dynamic with, because he's running this kind of pattern. So Rachel would do well to tackle her own rescuer energy, the fear, the desperation of the panic about feeling left by this person that she then associates love with. But most importantly, I would say, in order to really feel calm about this, I would say she needs to go back in her life to ascertain who was the first person, first male, who let her down emotionally, and to discover what pain around that she still holds in herself. She only needs to discover it to release it. That's the beauty of a sensitive. The beauty of a sensitive is that things might be painful to hold in your life, but at the same time, you are brilliant at your ability to, once you understand that, understand what you're holding, you are brilliant, much more capable than the average person of letting that go and healing it and moving on. And I strongly suspect that if Rachel was able to access that energy from past in her life around that male, she will then feel, actually, what am I doing? This person is wrecking my sense of well-being, sense of worth, and I'm focusing a lot on this, and when actually I just want someone decent and calm, and I don't want to carry this rescuer anymore because it's too much like hard work. So what can we learn from Rachel's situation? Well, we can learn that actually sometimes it isn't the situation that's immediately before us that's causing us the emotional pain. It can be something that happened a long time previously, and this current situation just reflects that pain from back and beyond. And that if we can see a current situation as what it's trying to tell us, in terms of what's it trying to tell us in terms of helping us, that the moment we can tap into that is the moment of relief. So before we go into the next dilemma, we have an important message from our sponsor, i.e. me, and I will be back in a few seconds just whilst I clear the board and we go into the second dilemma for today. I've not gone anywhere, you've just got a static screen for a moment just whilst I clear this board. Okay, so let's get into the second dilemma for today. We have Claire, who is a life code 9, and she feels changed within herself and is unsure if her current partner is still a match. Okay, so we have Claire, who's a life code 9, and we have her partner, who is also, interestingly, a life code 9. So put those two next to each other. And let's have a look as to what this particular dynamic is. I mean, we've got this guy who, big thumbs up, so we'll discover in a minute what that means. Okay, so what has Claire told us? I'm in a relationship now for nearly 14 years and I'm not sure if it's right for me, as I've worked lots on myself and now my other half is looking to settle. I'm afraid I'll get suffocated or lose myself. So what's the problem the situation creates? Can I continue to be me and continue to heal and grow? Is this person a spiritual partner? Can we grow to enjoy each other? I'm afraid the other person will die on me if I commit. So what's the question that she wants me to answer? If we marry, will it be okay in terms of living freedom and content, or is there someone more suitable for each of us? Okay, so big one. So Claire wants to know if this relationship is the right long-term decision for her at this particular stage in her life. Now, we have a big clue in what the real issue is. Okay, we have a huge clue as to what the real issue is in the last sentence that she gave to me in terms of what she's written here is, can we grow and enjoy each other? I'm afraid the other person will die on me if I commit. That's a big pattern. Okay, so sometimes we can see when something in life is a pattern and when something is actually real. That very sentence tells me immediately that this is a pattern that Claire is in the throes of, and the fear around it is the throes of that pattern rather than actually anything to do with her partner. Now, where are those patterns stored? Well, in life codes 9 to 9, in a romantic relationship, it's a prime place, well, either for it can really work very well, or it's a prime place for, especially in romantic relationship, for two people to really reflect to each other, because the 9 is the unconscious. It's also about endings. So it's about the part of us that's unconscious, and it's about resolving past situations, endings before new beginnings. So when we have two life code 9s, one will bring up the issue of the other one, and then it will kind of be the other one's fault for this kind of clash in scenarios, as in it's seen as that person's fault. And likewise, so something can pop up in this one, and it'll be reflected in this one, and something can pop up in this one, and it'll be reflected in that one. So life code 9s can be on a huge journey together in terms of a friendship or very much a romantic relationship. So what do we have here is this particular situation. Is Claire's fear founded? She's done the growth, she's done this level of awareness, okay? So what she's actually saying is, really, and what she's asking is, I'm beginning to discover that I feel vulnerable. And my ultimate vulnerability is that if I really allow myself to flow into this relationship, what if that person dies on me? I couldn't cope. I really couldn't cope with giving my heart and the person abandoning me by death. That's really what she's saying. So the fact that she has this fear that he'll die if she commits that's very much based on the fact that she's actually fine with the relationship. Okay, so I would say that the feel of it is that she's fine with the relationship dynamics. They're, fairly normal, ups and downs kind of thing, but actually she does feel that this man is committed, because the fear is not that he'll leave her for another woman or another interest in life, or that they'll emotionally grow apart. The big one is she fears that he's going to die on her. So, and this is classic. This is a classic scenario when someone's psyche, especially as a sensitive in the past, has been deeply hurt, really, really hurt. And their association with their vulnerability gets wrapped up in this idea that if they really allow themselves that depth of their own vulnerability in terms of seeing a reliance on somebody else, that if they lost that, they wouldn't survive. The heart would literally, they die of a broken heart, literally. And people can die of a broken heart very much. It can have a huge physical impact on somebody. So let's have a look and see how Claire could, because I think really this is what the dynamic is about, is what does Claire really feel? What does her partner really feel? And what is the deep fear to resolve in order for her to be able to see this relationship clearly? Okay, so let's have a look as far as that's concerned. So first of all, I'm thinking of Claire. Okay, well, we've got this one again. This huge pile of archetypes, massive pile, because I mix up decks in here. We've got this again. We've got the beggar again. Okay. So clearly, this situation for Claire is that her unconscious feels that she's not worthy of love. She's not worthy of a person having a true essence of commitment to her. She doesn't feel worthy of it. So she's almost kind of trying to push it away before they reject her. That's her feeling. That's the depth of that feeling. Okay. So let's have a look as far as Claire's partner is concerned. What do we get as far as he's concerned? Let's have a little look. So I'm thinking of the partner. Let's see what we get. Athlete. Okay. So this is interesting because as far as he's concerned, it's water off a duck's back. He likes to get on with things. He wants to get on with things. So yes, he absolutely wants to get on with making this relationship a committed situation. He wants to just get on with it. He doesn't see what the issue is. He can't see why she would have an issue around it. He doesn't understand. She hasn't communicated the fact that she's frightened. Okay, not frightened of him, but frightened that if she commits, that somehow or another she'll lose him. Okay, so let's have a look to see what would happen if Claire kind of communicated some of this fear, how it would stand with her relationship, to see whether that's a good idea. Let's have a little look, because that would be a big fear. So, asking me to communicate this, really, that feels really uncomfortable. So let's have a little look and see what comes up. So I'm thinking about that. What happens if she actually communicates this fear in a gentle, in her actual vulnerability? Let's see what happens. Ooh, we get the lover. So I like it when we get things like this. So absolutely, this is what Claire needs to do. She needs to sit down with her partner, have a discussion about that she has this deep fear, unexplainable fear, that if she commits properly to this relationship, that somehow or another he'll leave her, and that's the thing that makes her frightened. It's got nothing to do with the distance that he's not right for her or anything like that, and that he currently doesn't understand that. He has no concept of it, so he's not going to guess it. Okay, so Claire actually needs to communicate this, and if she communicates that, absolutely, she really does it properly. This relationship definitely has the possibility of a very happy ending, so to speak, because it will bring them closer together rather than further apart. So what can we learn from this situation? Sometimes when our fear is there and we're trying to work out what that is, if we can express that level of vulnerability to the person who's meant to be closest to us, and they accept us within that, warts and all. They don't try and use it against us. Absolutely, that's someone that you can trust in your life moving forward. So it's a brilliant tester in life, because if someone is cruel with how you express that level of vulnerability, then before you even get into a level of commitment, then you know full well that that person is never going to change that to be anything different. So in this situation, we can learn that Claire's fear has got everything to do with a deep, deep fear within herself, not actually anything to do with her relationship. And that in her communicating that with her partner and saying that this is one reason why I'm struggling with this idea of commitment, that it's not really about feeling suffocated, it's actually feeling that what if you then leave me, if I've shown you my vulnerability by committing to you, it feels scary. And even if she just said, look, it feels scary to me and I don't have any reason for it, but I want to talk about it, that this will make them closer. Okay, so before we go on to the next dilemma, we have another important message from me, from our sponsor. So I'll be back in a moment, just whilst I clear the board. The screen will be static just for a second whilst I clear the board. Okay, so the next person we have is Gwen. This is the third dilemma of today. Gwen is a life code 5. Okay, so we'll put Gwen there. And we have another person who's an old friend and is her new love, who's on life code 110. And we'll put them here in the 110 physical for the moment, because they are unaware. So Gwen is the life code 5 and has finally met the man of her dreams, but he's only just separated from his wife. So absolutely, we have these two people involved, and so this new love opportunity he's an old friend, so he's a known entity. I've put him in the 110 physical because he's got that dynamic of how do I move into the new and still honour the old. Okay, so what has Gwen told us about this situation? I'm finally with the man of my dreams since he separated with his wife this year. We have known each other for around 8 years, but our love connection has really quickly happened over the last 4 weeks. We are mad about each other. What's the problem the situation creates? He's not ready. To protect myself, I have encouraged him to have space and have let it go. I'm hoping time will be the healer, and if it's right, we will be together. I'm gutted, and I'm being supportive on the sidelines, but don't want to rescue or become involved in the stuff he needs to clear. So what's the question that Gwen wants me to answer? Will this person ever be healthy for me? Is he my man? Do you see when or how we may be fully together? So Gwen is wondering if and how things will work out with this special man, given he has only just come out of his marriage. Okay, so we have a life code 5 and a life code 110. Now, around love relationships. So the 110, why have I put this person in the physical? Because 110 anyway has that whole inner dynamic about being pulled in different directions, because they've got the dynamic of the 110 in the body and in the whole self. Okay, so they always feel stretched in different directions. Put him here as in the body as in the physical, because he feels stretched in different directions around his current feelings now and his kind of resolving past situations. And Life code 5, so life code 5 to 110. Life code 5s, when they really want something, can be really quite impatient. So we'll have this situation around this love relationship where, as a life code 5, Gwen will be feeling impatient on one side of things. And also, as a life code 5, when they really want something, they can also reject it in order to protect themselves. So as this 110, new love, I suspect he'll be really quite confused. Be confused as in, does she want me? Does she not want me? Does she want me? Does she not want me? Because for that life code 5, in order to protect themselves, it will be like a stand back, but also a sort of sense of impatience, sort of make that decision, man. But also, well, I don't want to get too involved in case I get hurt. Whereas the 110 in love quite often need to be directed rather than left to their own devices. Okay, so let's have a look. Okay, let's have a look and see what the new love, the old friend, is really feeling at the moment in terms of this relationship situation. Let's have a little look. Okay, so what do we have? Oh, interesting. We have the prostitute. That might need a little bit more explanation. Okay, so we have the prostitute. So what he'll feel at the moment, I suspect we need to add to this, but I will say this is what we're doing at the moment. What he'll feel is he's trying to sell himself, as in sell his potential to Gwen. I suspect that he's had a real interest in Gwen for a long period of time, for a long time. And on an unconscious level, it's now sort of pinged up a level of guilt, because even though he's separated from his wife, this situation would say to me that this is a good person. Okay, so this guy is a good person because he's got that conscience. So even though he's separated from his wife, he's still kind of got a conscience in that direction. Am I, when did this attraction begin? Because definitely with this prostitute here, this attraction began before he separated from his wife, in terms of from his own perspective. So the prostitute doesn't mean, how someone puts themselves on street corners. It means, how do they sell themselves in life? How does the prostitute sort of sell themselves into life? How do they present themselves? So I would say that this guy has been very interested in Gwen for quite some time. This isn't just new. But in her mind, it probably is just new. He hasn't really said anything previously, because he wouldn't have done, because he's a nice guy. It feels to me like he's a good guy, he's a nice guy. Okay, so let's have a look as far as Gwen is concerned. Okay, so thinking about Gwen, let's see what we get. Okay, we've got the monk stroke nun. Ooh, so Gwen needs to be careful about her own sabotage patterns as far as this is concerned, because the monk stroke nun, what we have here is that this means that Gwen is triggering old patterns. Okay, that somehow or another she's supposed to be on her own, that nothing ever really works out for her, that this can't possibly be true, so I need to push back from it. And he's kind of gone into this two-way guilt thing going on, conscience, even though he's separated from his wife. His attraction to Gwen has happened a long time before he actually separated, so he's got this conscience thing going on. Did it create it? Did it trigger it in this direction? Or this kind of thing going on inside of himself that he's trying to reconcile. And Gwen doing the whole pushback thing because she believes that somehow or another she's meant to be on her own, which does match with that life code 5, because, it's the warrior, and they like to do things on their own. But also, if they've been hurt, their default setting will be to do something alone, to not feel, to kind of think, well, I shouldn't be doing this because it feels too pleasant, too nice, too connected. So I think what we need to do is have a look. So we need to put another one onto this prostitute to see as far as this guy is concerned. And if Gwen gave him more direction in terms of this relationship, because there's that 110 who's new out of something, he'll be kind of a bit dazed, and 110's new out, sort of fresh into something, new territory, quite often needs some direction. So let's have a look to see, let's put something on top of this prostitute, just to double check that, how this guy feels. Okay, so I'm just thinking about that. Let's just double check, putting something on top here. Okay, so what we got, the Queen. Okay, so I would say I'm right, as far as this is concerned, that he feels that he's got some kind of, still sort of a strong, kind of like a feeling of that he's supposed to be honour the Queen, so to speak. And the Queen would be his ex-wife, that he's supposed to honour what she needs or what she wants, or he's slightly scared of her. So I would say that there is a sort of slight fear around it, but at the same time it doesn't mean that he wants that situation back, but he feels that he has to do the right thing, to be the right thing and all of that, which is good because it would say that he has a good conscience. So let's have a look and see, we'll put this into the soul here. If Gwen actually gave this relationship some direction, how would it then materialise? How would it sort out? Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Oh, interesting. We have the gambler here. So what that means is Gwen definitely needs to sort out this whole thing, that she doesn't deserve a good, great relationship. She needs to sort that with it in herself. That is an internal recognising of something past. Again, we've got this whole theme of something past. And this is, about mastering your environment. Often we can't allow good things into our life unless we've mastered our own present environment. And that can mean our own present environment as in what's going on in our outer world, but it's also very much about what's going on in our inner world. Okay, so Gwen deserves this relationship. This man is, it's not, if he goes back to his wife situation, again, it will be temporary. The actual essence of the relationship doesn't work for them. So if he went back, it somehow or another he thought, well, I'll try and sort this out, blah, blah. It doesn't match. He feels contained. He feels, it just doesn't match. Sometimes relationships don't match. Sometimes it doesn't, it just doesn't match. But if she decided that he had to come back to make it match, currently, Gwen thinks, I'm not worthy of keeping him, so she would let him go too easily. Okay, because of this monk-nun thing. So Gwen, to resolve that, would do very well to decide actually that the master of her own environment right now is that part of her feels that she, yes, absolutely deserves this, because this does feel to me like a good match. Feels to me like a really pleasant match. Two people who would naturally feel really quite comfortable in enjoying each other's company. And it's about Gwen deciding within herself that yes, actually she does deserve to have a trouble-free relationship. And if she then allowed herself to indulge within that, master her own internal environment around that, it would feel to him, this new opportunity, that actually, yes, she does want him. And therefore, his resolve around sorting out his ex-marriage would be a lot stronger within himself. And he wouldn't feel so divided as that 110 energy. And remember, this year we are actually in this 110 of new beginnings. So for a 110, as this guy is, if something's going to change, it would change this year. And it would be that new element of a new beginning and a new scenario. But currently, for Gwen, it feels like a gamble to actually state how she wants this relationship. The primary area to solve is her own internal sense of, I deserve a good person in my life. So just very briefly, if she allows herself to do that, let's have a quick look to see how that would change her inner world. Let's just have a quick look. Okay, what does she need to draw upon? Well, we've got the mystic here, which means that she needs to draw upon her deeper instinct, her deeper intuition, to know whether what I've just said is true. Okay, some part deep within her, to find that resolve, to be able to let go of this idea that she can't have, she has to be on her own, that she's doesn't deserve this deep feeling of strong connection. She needs to find the peace within herself to resolve that by looking deep within her intuition, which is absolutely key to an intuitive sensitive. And that is where we really find our whole healing potential in life. So, what can we learn from Gwen's situation? It is that mastering your internal environment, because it gives you, when that great thing comes along and that opportunity comes along, it gives you then that internal permission to accept that opportunity as yours. So that's the end of this episode of the Sensitive Mind Show. If you've enjoyed it and found it helpful, do share it with your friends. So to be sure to join me next week, where I will look forward to giving you an alternative perspective on your relationship dilemmas. Bye for now, and let me leave you with this.